Hello, everybody. This is Jacob Sapochnik, host of the Enchanting Lawyer podcast. Welcome to the show. We have, it's almost the end of the year, and we had many interesting guests. Some of them lawyers, some of them non. I'm trying to, wrap up the year with some topics that we have not covered in the past. And today I have a very interesting guest who is in an industry that is not very familiar to many attorneys. We're going to be talking about Unbundled Legal Services, and my guest today is Dave Ahrens. Dave is the co-founder and CEO of an Unbundled Attorney. They are a lead generation company that works exclusively with attorneys that offer unbundled legal services, also known as limited scope or discrete task representation. They have over 160 lawyers active in their network and deliver them new clients seeking help with family law cases. Are about to expand into other areas of law, such as immigration. Company's mission is to cut the number of pro se litigants in this country in half by 2020 by connecting them with provider attorneys that strategically leverage the use of technology to streamline their services and deliver lower-cost unbundled options. They're also working on creating a relationship with organizations and companies that are also committed to making legal services accessible and affordable for everyone. Dave, welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you here today. How are you?
Very good, Jacob. I appreciate you having me on and look forward to the chat.
Excellent. So, unbundled legal services, this is an area where in the past 10 years, attorneys are going back and forth, discussing whether this is something they want to get into. But before we dive into some of the core issues, why don't you tell me a little bit what does unbundled legal services actually mean from your perspective and from the perspective of the lawyers that are working with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Unbundled legal services, the way we look at it is attorneys adapting to some major market trends that are going on right now in the legal industry, mainly that we've seen a tremendous shift in the amount of clients that are going unrepresented in the courts in this country. And so unbundled legal services essentially is an attorney limiting the scope of the involvement. They're unbundling the scope of their involvement down to just doing specific tasks. So rather than meeting with the client and taking the full upfront retainer and then handling the case from start to finish, they're unbundling the scope down to just specific tasks such as preparing documentation, advising the client of specific documents to file, how to file them, perhaps filing them on their behalf, and in certain states, offering limited appearances, but basically creatively adapting the solutions to the legal needs and the financial considerations of the clients that they're working with.
So essentially, the attorney tells the client that, as their attorney, they're only going to handle certain parts of their legal matter. And then the client will be responsible for the other parts of their matter, in a way.
That's correct, right. So, right. The reality is one of the major reasons that we've seen a, five-fold increase in the amount of pro se litigants, quite honestly, is simply financial considerations. You have the emergence of the internet, the availability of forms, and some other trends as well, but mainly it's financial, especially since 2008. A lot of people, the lower and middle class that used to be able to afford an attorney, can't afford the $3,000 to $5,000 up front. And so as a result, they're finding themselves having to go it alone because of that. And so given that a lot of these folks, and 2/3 of our industry, I think right now the numbers are close to 2/3 of divorces, for example, are being filed pro se without the use of an attorney. Given that these folks are not in a position to retain an attorney, the courts as well as attorneys have had to adapt and find ways to deliver services at a lower cost such that they are able to provide services and guidance to these clients in a way that is going to be cost effective for their budget and also effective in helping them through the court process.
Interesting. So, if people are listening to the show and, thinking to themselves, so what are some of the benefits of delivering legal services this way, and why would I want to try that? So let's hear from you for lawyers. what would be some of the benefits of delivering legal services unbundled?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, first of all, if you look at it from a strictly business standpoint, looking at the marketplace, we've gone from, less than a third of people filing pro se maybe 20-something years ago to now well over 2/3. So when you're looking at the marketplace in general, that's where the majority of the clients are. And so if you want to be able to grow your business and continue to expand as this trend tends to continue and also take advantage of the internet and technology, an adaptation seems to be necessary in order to thrive. Now, when you offer unbundled legal services, you're able to effectively deliver starting price points that are a fraction of what an attorney that offers solely full representation in a traditional sense can offer. So, for example, many of our provider attorneys are able to deliver services with starting fees of $500, $1,000, and at most $1,500, but a lot of times for hundreds instead of thousands, and they're essentially getting people started with some very limited tasks by offering them these creative unbundled options, which are, flat rate, pay as you go. They also do kind of, down payments and then use structured payment plans and so forth. But it really, it gives you the ability to work with a tremendous amount more of the clients that you might already be attracting, but your firm is turning away simply because of the model that you've been used to doing that worked well maybe many years ago, but now such a smaller pond to fish in, isn't you may be starting to feel the pinch as far as the amount of clients that you're able to service under that old traditional model. So this is a way to adapt and start to service these clients that normally you may be already turning away, but now you can, number one, capture that revenue for your practice by delivering services that meet this budget. And second of all, help a lot of the folks that are without, an attorney that's willing and open to offering these types of creative unbundled options would ultimately be stuck completely doing it on their own, which inevitably is going to lead to them making mistakes and in many cases costing them their rights to their children or, depending on the type of case they're working on, ultimately not getting the result they're seeking in court.
And, the more I think about it is, right now attorneys are competing with, giants, automated services like LegalZoom and, many other, Rocket Matter, companies that offer the automated form services for people just to buy and use it, on their own. And I think if attorneys unbundle some of these services, most of us use automated form services. We essentially can increase our caseload and open new areas of practice by offering those services. For just want to get the package. Like in my case, like in immigration practice, we could offer, we just do your citizenship forms instead of representing you from A to Z in a citizenship matter, and then we can still retain the client to do the forms, which may take us a couple of hours, as opposed to losing that client completely.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a shift in the sense that to be effective in this market, you also have to start evaluating where the people. I mean, this is from the experience that we're finding with working with over 100 attorneys in our network. The ones that are effective are really diligent about determining where the client is at financially, and if they're in a position where they can't come up with $2,500, $5,000, it doesn't make any sense if you're wanting to help the client to offer options that ultimately are out of the price point. And so if you can identify where they're at financially, what they're needing help with, then you can start to think about how to structure options that can meet their budget. Now, a lot of attorneys may assume that, because we're offering lower cost services, that all of a sudden we're going to be making less money. And I think this is a myth that's completely incorrect. And I can give you a perfect illustration of that. And it's along the lines of what you were talking about with regard to technology, because you're saying most of us use automated document technology. I found that maybe not the majority are quite there yet. I mean, you're one of the more innovative attorneys in your industry, for sure, Jacob. I'm really impressed with the types of options that you guys are offering and will be continuing to evolve into. But a lot of attorneys don't necessarily use these types of automated document technologies to streamline their business tasks. And when you think about it, for a client that's talked to 3 other lawyers that all quoted them $2,500 or $5,000 to get started, if you can come in and deliver them a service that can get them from point A to the next step and give them all the steps they need, the documents they need prepared, and you can deliver that for, let's say, $750, that's an incredible value to that client who otherwise, devoid of an attorney willing to offer that option, which most don't at this stage, would be on their own to represent themselves by themselves if they didn't have the $2,500 to $5,000. Okay, so that $750, they're very happy because now all of a sudden they have an option that they can fit in their budget. They can spend some time with an attorney. They can get their documents prepared, and they can start the process with confidence, knowing that they've had an attorney to assist them with taking the appropriate steps. Right. Now, to deliver a service for $750, does it take the question then becomes, as the provider attorney, how long is it going to take you to deliver that service, whether it be a preparation of documentation, filing, and then giving advice giving advice to get them prepared for the hearing, or it could be any number of packages. You can start to think about how long is it going to take you to do that, and if you can start to leverage technologies like you're leveraging in, there's a lot of different software programs out there, HotDocs, Clio. We were just at the Clio Cloud Conference, and they've got some really awesome automated documentation technology. Whereas in the past, delivering that level of service might have taken you 3-4 hours, and maybe you were reluctant to do that. We have a lot of attorneys that are leveraging technology to streamline the development, the delivery of these tasks, such that that $750 document package, which is a great value to the client, may only now take you as an attorney 1 hour or perhaps 2 hours to deliver. And so if you look at the effective hourly rate of delivering this service, which helps that client tremendously, you could be effectively making $300, $400, $500 an hour, delivering a service to someone that really needs it. And so there's a lot of different iterations to how to do that, and we can talk about some of the options that some of our attorneys do. But that's really the idea, is finding creative ways to leverage the technology to deliver these tasks effectively in a streamlined manner, such that you can get the majority of people that are filing in this court pro se the assistance they need to do it effectively. And then there's also adaptive ways to find ways to work with clients, even on full representation basis, by working with them in creative payment structures as well.
And it seems to me that some of these people that are actually willing to work with these attorneys, they may become, future clients because they're going to need other services, and you already have them in your system. You help them a little bit, and they are now familiar with your work, and you never know what's going to happen as a result of that kind of relationship. Yeah. Starting with small, and then maybe something else can come up with it. Now, Dave, I wanted to bring up a couple of maybe cautionary points because I know that a lot of attorneys are concerned. So I'm thinking, and maybe we can, you can raise some of your points, but I'm thinking that first of all, I see some issues here if an attorney who is trying to do unbundled is not thoroughly vetting the legal need of the client, understanding what exactly they need before they engage. I see some issues there because when they start, they say, I didn't realize that you need a full service, and now the client is not trusting the attorney anymore. The other thing is, lawyers that are not educating and explaining to clients the difference between a full service and an unbundled early on in the process. Right. Why don't you tell us a little bit how your attorneys work and how you advise some of them to before they even engage people, so there's no issues like that. Right.
Yeah, I think the first thing to understand and recognize is that not every case is a fit to be unbundled. Sometimes the client just isn't doesn't have the capacity to proceed effectively with your instructions. And sometimes there's just a complexity involved in the case that some limited time may not really make a difference in that person's ability to get the result they want. For example, family law would be like CPS cases and things that are highly complex where you need litigation to really make a difference in the matter. And so there's always going to be those cases. And so as a provider attorney, the providers have to be in this model probably even more diligent to think about how are they going to be able to, or is this the type of case that they can deliver these types of limited options in a way that's going to help this client and get them in a better position, and also not that put them in a position of overwhelming liability. And what's interesting is every state is a little bit different in the way it's evolved in supporting attorneys in offering these types of options. Some states like California, for example, like limited appearances is a perfect example, where they have a form that they can file that attaches to a petition that notifies the court, this is going to be a limited appearance. And they never, and from what we've heard, they're not running into an issue where the judge is going to then keep them on the record. Whereas in other states, they don't have this form, and limited appearances are still frowned upon by most judges. So these are all factors that you have to take into consideration based on your local jurisdiction and your knowledge of the judge and your local court system and where they're at in the evolution of this process to evaluate the extent to which you can deliver these types of options in your local market. So that's a really important consideration to keep in mind. As far as delivering unbundled and full versus full representation, deciding that, in this type of situation, it really requires a diligence and a communication with the client to identify, like I said before, really where they're at financially, what's realistic for them. Okay, and some of the time, when a client really needs full representation, the attorneys are not delivering unbundled legal services, but now they're structuring the full representation payment options in a way that can start to fit that person's budget. So, for example, what they'll do is they'll take maybe a smaller payment down, $500, $1,000, $1,500, and then they'll create some form of a payment plan where, every 2 weeks or once a month they're paying $200 or $250 or something like that fits within the client's budget. And then many of them are using automated payment softwares like LawPay, for example, where they can simply put those two payments, the frequency of payments, let's say it's, twice a month, the amount of that payment, and the term, which is, let's say 6 months or something like that, and put that into a software program that's going to automatically process that payment so they don't have to be filling out these small tasks. So that's made that more possible for people. And so now attorneys are able to deliver the full representation and are able to do it in a way that fits that person's budget rather than, that client not being able to do it simply because they're asking for so much money up front, right? Some other attorneys are offering more of a sliding scale. So there's even creative options that you can start thinking about how to structure, if you can't do the unbundled legal services, structuring the full representation payment options such that even more clients can fit that in their budget as well. And in the same time, using technologies to make that more possible too.
Right. And I think that, this is something that we started doing as well in the past couple of years because, trying to, first of all, adapt to the client needs, but also if somebody's asking for payment plans or if I break down services and say, we're going to do this first and then, next step will be another service, using systems like LawPay and other companies that help you automate payments and I don't have to worry about collections is really helpful and encourages attorneys like us to do that because otherwise I know if I break it down or if we take a small payment up front and then we know that it's going to be very difficult to collect, the kind of the likelihood of doing this is becoming obviously less popular. So I think this is a great point mentioning automated payment plans and working with the clients to get them in the door, starting to work with them because, again, the idea is that we want to be helpful and then finding ways to collect money which is more efficient using automated services like LawPay and other companies.
Give me the budget. And I'll circle back real quick briefly to what you said earlier, which is that when you're able to offer these types of creative solutions, you're able to work with more clients. And even if you start with someone unbundled, like you said, a lot of times the people will kind of get stuck and really decide later on that they need full representation. And so we find that a lot of attorneys that are delivering these options, the person will start working with them unbundled, and they'll deliver like a fixed, doc preparation service or something like that. The person will then file itself, and then they're going to realize, okay, I'm in over my head. I really need to find full, I really need to hire an attorney. And, a good big percentage of those clients are coming back to that firm because they were the one that had an opportunity to work with and transitioning to more of a full representation type of model. And then in addition, a lot of attorneys, because they're able to work with so many more clients, those clients, even if they only offer a limited service to them, become, walking sounding boards for their service and refer them business, right? And so that really helps the attorneys to expand their reach as far as the amount of clients that they're able to help, and as a result, the amount of clients that they'll be able to get referred through that network.
Perfect. So Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit of what practice areas are actually most appropriate for unbundled legal services as you see it?
Yeah, so up till now, up till basically this week, we've been primarily focused on family law, and the attorneys have been really, really effective in delivering these types of options to clients that are filing pro se in the family courts. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that family court is very, very document intensive, and a great deal of the case tends to rely upon the ability of the client to articulate in a factual written argument the primary reasons why, them having custody or getting visitation the way they'd like to see fit is in the best interest of their child. And so that's a necessary part of the process to get that paperwork prepared properly, have that written argument, have that declaration prepared properly with the facts that are relevant in the appropriate language and not the things that are irrelevant, and that done properly, effectively. And that process there, done right, can make a big impact on their ability to succeed or not, because a lot of times people will just assume if they don't have proper guidance from an attorney, they can just file some forms, walk in the courtroom, and tell their story. And, for all the family court lawyers out there, that, everyone knows that that's not really the way it works. You have to have a fact-based argument that's presented in the documentation so it becomes part of court record. It can be taken into consideration. So it's really worked well in that sense. And so in the same sense, we see a few other areas of law that could probably be served by attorneys that are offering unbundled legal services. And these are the type of areas of law where the document preparation and these types of tasks are a big part of the case. So you have immigration law, and one of the things that's good about immigration law is it's streamlined. It's the same process across all states. One of the things that is a challenge with family law is it's very difficult to standardize a process when every single filing procedure and the forms and everything is different, not only state to state, but sometimes county to county. And so putting together a solution that's, streamlinable, it makes it more challenging. And so you have to have, an adaptive technology to do that. And that's something that our attorneys are working on. But with immigration, it's going to be the same because it's federal. And so the more streamlined your process, the faster in which you can make the ability to get those documents prepared, the greater your margin is going to be, or the lower of a cost you can deliver to the client, right? Other areas of law that we haven't expanded into, but I'm thinking might be a benefit, could potentially be bankruptcy, and then estate planning is something else that we're looking at, because again, those are things that rely heavily on the person being able to correctly complete the documentation of their case.
And I even thinking about maybe even IP law, some elements of copyrights and trademark that are foreign-based, that federal could also be unbundled. Some people just want to get the attorney to review it before they file. Been a very common request that I've seen. So that's just, to me, it just opens a bunch of opportunities.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about some of the trends that are coming up in the future for unbundled. Can you cover some of those?
Well, what we've seen is, absolutely, and what we've seen is an emergence of a unification of legal services in the traditional sense and the implementation of technology to more effectively empower that attorney to deliver services in, like I said, a streamlined way, and to do it in a way that's also very accessible for the client. Being able to have their documentation on the cloud where they can access it and fill things out easily, and services like EcoSign where they can just click a button and sign their name. And in the past, there was faxing, there was printing out of documents, you had to mail it or fax. These are things that just took time. That now with the emergence of technology and these types of solutions, these can be done so much quicker and so much more effectively. Because it can all be handled online. So one of the biggest trends, obviously, is that the emergence of the internet and how using that platform, that portal in the cloud to be able to interface with the client such that they can access it in real time on the go from their mobile device. That's been a major trend. Is a lot of the clients now have walking computers in their pocket, that they can jump on and give you the information right on their computer from wherever they're at. And so that really speeds up the process through which, attorney can effectively deliver these tasks. And so that's, been really exciting to see attorneys starting to really embrace these technologies and in finding ways to make the services delivering quicker, more efficient, faster. And as a result, they're able to bring their costs down for their client, but also maintain their margins and their profitability as well.
And I agree with that totally. And other trends that I see, Dave, is companies, legal tech companies that are emerging, and they're either offering services like unbundling through their platform, their technology, or they are inviting attorneys to become part of the network, and they can send cases to them. And I can give you an example. There's a company called A Simple Citizen that I'm in the board. I'm advising them, and they are trying to create a very interesting platform for immigration forms to be, pretty much prepared seamlessly using their amazing platform. And again, they are reading the future, and they see that that's where the market is going to go. And again, I think attorneys that are not going to adapt or try to at least think about that are going to be losing big time. And that's why I'm excited that we're going to try the immigration experiment with your company to see how that goes, and be excited to be part of this system. Dave, as we end our show, why don't you tell verbally our listeners where they can find your company, and if they want to learn more information about what you do, what is the best way to contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. Our primary website is unbundledattorney.com. And that's where if you're an attorney that's interested in growing your practice, like Jacob said before, we're a lead generation company, so we bring new clients in the specific area of law in the local jurisdiction that you service directly to you in the form of leads delivered through our SaaS platform, emailed directly to your inbox, and also we have technologies to be able to deliver to your text via text message as well. So if you're interested in growing your practice and attracting more clients, and the main caveat being if you're interested in also offering these types of unbundled creative options, and even if you don't have that much experience in delivering unbundled legal services, one of the things that we do, in a similar way that Jacob does in our company, is we do a monthly mastermind call where I actually will interview a provider attorney each month and ask them what it is that they're doing. And usually these are the veteran attorneys, the ones that are being most effective, converting really high, or have a really great sales process and delivery process. And ask them, what it is that they're doing, how they're doing it, what technologies they're using, what are the types of pricing options they're doing, what's the sales process, how do they bring that client from point A to point B. And so that as an attorney that's just getting started, you can start tapping into our community and start learning how it is that you can be effective in offering these options. Because one of the things that I personally, that we're committed to, as we said, is making legal services more affordable and more accessible to the average family in this country and throughout North America. And the only way to do that, I can see, or at least the fastest way to do that, is to empower attorneys and get them working together to be more effective in doing so. And so we're creating a community to support you in learning what you need to learn, implementing the technology to implement, so that you can be effective as possible in delivering these types of low-cost services, so that as a cooperative group, we can really make a difference in the amount of folks that are able to get access to services in this country.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dave, for taking the time and sharing with us what you guys do, and inspiring us to look into the future of law this way. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jacob.
And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in every week. I appreciate you very much, and I wish you all the best, and we'll see you on our next episode. Thank you so much.